Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, and I'm back with another review. This time I'm finishing off the Crow series with The Crow Wicked Prayer. It's a 2005 superhero film directed by Lance Mungia, and it stars Edward Furlong, Tara Reid, David Boreanaz, Emmanuel Shrieky, Dennis Hopper, Marcus Chong, Tito Ortiz, Yuji Okamoto, Dave Baez, Rena Owen, Danny Trejo, and Macy Gray, and Damon John. In this film, after ex-con Jimmy and his girlfriend are brutally murdered by a biker gang, he is resurrected by the power of the Crow to avenge their deaths and reunite with her in the afterlife. So, what I think of the Crow Wicked Prayer. This film is awful. It's absolutely fucking terrible. Um, Not just even as a film on its own, even if it wasn't connected to The Crow, massive miscasting for multiple actors in this film. Some of them I usually would be like, it's okay, but because of certain bits of dialogue, certain people just do not work. Uh, yeah, this is such a nothing movie. And I'll get to that. I'm saying nothing because it feels like nobody wanted to make this. This came out 5 years after the last Crow sequel, and there's no fucking way this took 5 years to get shot. 100% this is a movie that they had like on the back burner and they were like, whatever, let's try to make some more money off the Crow. This is how this feels. 5 years after Salvation, which I actually like. Salvation is the only sequel I would ever watch again because there's stuff to enjoy. And it feels like it's connected to The Crow while actually building on it with things that make sense in the world for the most part. But yeah, definitely just because I have to talk about certain things in this film. Um, but Edward Furlong plays Jimmy Cuervo or the Crow. Get it, Cuervo? Because in Spanish, Cuervo means crow. Hmm, really clever guys. And pretty much every person has had like a crowish name. You've had who was it in City of Angels? It was Corvin, Ash Corvin. Then in Crow Salvation it was Alex Corvus. So yeah, everybody's had a crow name or a raven name. Eric Eric D. Raven in the first film. So I'm not really going to comment on that in the film because there is a thing with ravens and crows being called the same thing where they're not. But then again, the first film did that by having the main character be called Eric Draven. So not really going to comment on that. But Edward Furlong is Jimmy Cuervo. I don't buy him as this character at all. A lot of his dialogue is shit anyway. It's not even just that he's miscast, it's that a lot of his dialogue is horribly fucking written, and I can't think of a single actor that could make it work. But 100% who you don't want to play a badass is Edward Furlong. I enjoy Edward Furlong in certain films. I didn't mind him in Assault on Wall Street, the little bit he was in it, and Terminator 2, I don't mind him in that. He's still a bit like sleepy. But oh yeah, Pet Cemetery too. I didn't mind him being the lead in that. But in this, he's just very bored and very whatever. Um, and just trying way too hard to be badass and edgy. Tara Reid plays Lola Byrne. She is the girlfriend of Luke Crash, who's basically our main villain. Tara Reid does Tara Reid things. She's hot. That's why she was cast. That's about all I can say about her. And her character goes wildly, like varies wildly throughout the film. I'll get to that. David Boreanaz plays Luke Crash slash Death slash Satan. I like David Boreanaz as an actor. I've enjoyed him in many things. I enjoyed him in a show called Bones. I've seen a little bit of Angel. I remember enjoying it to an extent, and Buffy, even though I'm more into the movie Buffy than the show, personally. Um, David Boreanaz here isn't exactly miscast, but his dialogue is so garbage that it makes him seem like he can't play this character. If he was given better direction and better dialogue, 100% he could play a good version of the devil. But yeah, Emmanuel Shiki plays Lily. She's the girlfriend of Jimmy. She's fine. She's not got a lot to do. Dennis Hopper plays El Nino, the Satanist preacher slash pimp. Dennis Hopper doesn't give an actual fuck here. He's pretty funny, to be honest. Want Marcus Chong plays War. He's fine. If you recognize this guy, he was in The Matrix. He was Tank. Tito Ortiz plays Famine. He's almost a non-entity. He's barely in the film, and his death is really boring. Yuji Okamoto plays Pestilence. He's also kind of whatever. David Bays as Tanner is there. He's the cop character that hates the main character and then for no reason just changes his mind. Rena Owen plays Mary, the wife of this guy that gets shot that the Crow resurrects. I like Rena Owen, but she's given absolutely nothing to do here. Danny Trejo plays Harold. Horrible miscasting because he's a Mexican playing a, a Native American chief or pastor. I would not care so much if they didn't have him constantly speaking Spanish. Like he constantly speaks Spanish to the other characters. I would be okay with Danny Trejo playing this character because again, it's acting, anybody can play whatever. But because that's kind of the point. But the fact that he keeps speaking Spanish, he keeps saying Cuervo, the crow, and random shit he says throughout the film, uh, it doesn't work because you keep reminding us that Danny Trejo is Mexican. Like everybody knows that Danny Trejo is Mexican or Hispanic of some type, but when you keep having him speak Spanish, that drills it into our heads even more. But Macy Gray plays Karamia. She's a old acquaintance of Lola's. She's literally there for 2 scenes, does nothing. And Damon John as Proudfoot Joe. He's driving the girlfriend's hearse. Damon John. The only reason I mention him is because I recognized him. He was on Shark Tank for pretty much the entire show. He's the black dude on Shark Tank, and I was like, wait, where do I know him from? And I know him from that. But okay, the first thing I have to talk about, Edward Furlong. The Crow has been very well cast in the past 3 films. First film, you have Brandon Lee, badass. Second film, you have Vincent Perez, badass. Third film, you have Eric Mabius. Takes a little bit to get there, but he turns into a badass, and it works, even if some of his dialogue was a bit wonky. This film, Edward Furlong, who at this point was mostly known for Terminator 2. Why would you pick him? Ever? Whose idea was it to pick this guy? Again, I don't hate Edward Furlong, but this is horrible casting. And it just straight up does not work. It doesn't. At no point do I buy him as a badass. Some of his dialogue is hilarious. Someone owes me 2 lifetimes and a set of perfect blue eyes. Um, there's a bit where he's fighting somebody and he says, "Quoth the Raven, nevermore, motherfucker," as if that's supposed to be badass. Um, she believed in you. She believed in all of you. Danny Trejo's character said, "She believed in fairy tales. Who are you to tell me what she believed in?" He says, "I'm the fairy fucking godfather that's gonna save your fairy fucking tales." Just reading this back is horrible. Uh, where's the other one? Oh yeah, there's the bit where he gets stabbed by Luke and he's like right next to his ear and he goes, "You're gonna fucking die." Like he's trying so hard to be badass or to be like there's a part where he's like trying to light up a cigarette and he just doesn't and I'm like, "Okay, you're trying so hard to look cool." It's one of those. He's not cool. He doesn't work and it's horrible miscasting. David Boreanaz on the other hand could have been good casting, but given the horrible writing, um, the film just basically wastes him. An actually good actor that went on to be in better things like Bones and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which, well, at this point Buffy had finished, I think. But well, he went on to be in Bones, and he has SEAL Team as well, his own show still. And no matter what anybody thinks of those shows, if you're long running show, even if like people don't talk about it, you're set for fucking life, dude. Like you've got a pretty good fucking living being on a like broadcast TV show. Like you're making bank. But one thing that really bugs me about this film, it like okay, the main plot here is not what's bothering me. It's basically a retelling of the first and second film in a way, or at least the first film, where it's like, oh, girlfriend, ex-con. Well, I mean, in the first film, I don't think the main character was an ex-con. He was just a musician. But in this, they have it be an ex-con. First off, I don't buy Edward Furlong as an ex-con. If anything, I could buy him as a junkie, but not an ex-con that killed somebody. Uh, they 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 do tell you that it was a guy that was trying to rape somebody, and he meets the mother later and saves the mother's husband, and she still doesn't forgive him, which I'm sorry, your son was trying to rape somebody and you don't forgive him when he brings back your dying husband. Like, I'm sorry, what's wrong with you? Uh, but you have that, and you have the whole thing about the only reason that this gang killed his girlfriend and him was because they're trying to bring Satan to the living realm. Now, it's a bit more sci-fi than most of the movie plots, where the most sci-fi or like fantasy angle was that, oh yeah, the Crow's bringing somebody back to life. But I'm okay with that. That's not a horrible idea for a plot. But pretty much, well, first off, all of the henchmen are nothing. They have no real character. There's war, pestilence, and um, famine. All three of them have nothing to give this film. To give this film, Tito Ortiz is not an actor. I think he's MMA or something. I think he was still in the MMA when this came out. Fucking, I didn't mind Marcus Chong as Tank in The Matrix. I thought he was one of the more interesting characters. And Yuji Okamoto, I might know this actor. Oh, he was in Inception. Yeah. I recognize him. Yeah, he was much better in Inception. But they're just they're just only there for these revenge scenes between the Crow, which are the worst so far, as almost nothing happens with Pestilence. It's a very boring fight with a lot of floaty wire work, and I've always hated wire work. For the most part, I always hated wire work. I liked it in The Man with the Iron Fist because it was supposed to be a throwback to films like that had the floaty wire work, and it worked. I thought it was fun, enjoyable, very violent. It worked. Here it doesn't. It feels like it's an excuse because they don't want to choreograph a fight. And Pestilence is taken out by a fucking like electric fly killer thing. Like, that's fucking boring. Fucking the worst one. The worst one. Well, all of them are the worst ones. Um, Famine is taken out by a baseball bat. Literally, Jimmy hits him in the head with a baseball bat and he's dead. Boring. And War blows himself up and it's off screen. We don't even get to see the explosion. We get one explosion in this movie, and it's still kind of dumb because it's Jimmy walking away slowly from the explosion while not looking at it. Ah, that amazing trope. Like, I usually don't mind when those tropes are used, but the fact that it's Jimmy and it's fucking Edward Furlong trying to be badass, it just doesn't work. Um, fucking Oh yeah, and Crash, the way he goes out is just like it's a long drawn out fight, barely anything happens, just a lot of really bad dialogue. Um, I'm trying to find the one. Oh yeah, so God gave Trash like you wings. Yeah. A lot of really bad dialogue when he is Satan, when David Boreanaz turns into Satan. Uh, and you get the amazing line from Dennis Hopper. Is that you, original gangster? Well, wicked ass props to you, Mr. OG. Thanks for representing all the homeboys. And then Lola just kills him because, of course, it's like, what the fuck do I even say about this movie? Like, it's so nothing. Like, I don't know what was the goal with this. Like, Lance Mangia, the only thing I know about this guy is that he directed a film called Six String Samurai, which is this like um cult classic type of thing. I've never seen it. I can't comment on it. Apparently, a lot of people really like it and compare it favorably to something like El Mariachi because the guitar thing. But this just seems like a weird choice for a director like that to go for. And this film isn't really that stylish. Like at least the other films had like a bit of a like aesthetic to them. This film it's it's very cheap feeling, first off. The people who said the last film felt cheap, I don't understand that. There's like a couple effects that I think don't look good. That's for sure. But as for the film itself feeling cheap, I wouldn't really say that. It just feels very the third film feels a bit direct to video, but for the most part there's some intriguing kills, there's some fun action bits, some nice explosions, that's for sure. You can't say it's a no budget film when it has quite a few very high caliber explosions. And again, it just feels like a an actual movie. This feels like, well, one, it doesn't feel like anybody really knew what it was supposed to be. And it also just, it kind of feels like it, again, like the second film was trying to copy what the first film did in a lot of ways. But it doesn't have a lot of the identity, a lot of the like cool shit that made the first film as memorable as it was. Oh yeah, another thing, Lola Byrne. Uh, Throughout most of the film, she varies wildly between what we're doing is bad and ooh, I'm gonna cut someone's eyes out. And it's all to set up the stupid redemption thing by the end where you're supposed to be like, oh, she's reformed. even though one of the scene right before the scene where she loses her eyesight or whatever, um, happens right after her talking to Danny Trejo's character saying, "This is the knife I used to carve out your daughter's eyes." And I'm supposed to buy her fucking redemption? No. We've seen this character literally cut out a young woman's eyes, eat them, yes, eat them, to gain the shaman vision, because I guess Jimmy's girlfriend was a shaman. They never say this. I mean, they show that she can sing. That's about it. That's not shaman activities. And we've seen her literally allow Luke to go through all of this. Like, we've seen her going through with it. Every time Luke is like, "Yeah, we're gonna kill all these people," she doesn't even care. What, like she sees in a vision that like a kid's gonna be at the Raven Fest thing, and Jimmy ends up being there to shield the kid when War's about to shoot him. But even then, she really doesn't do anything. She just sits there and she never brings it up. She says, "I'm having second thoughts right before the satanic wedding." And then the next scene, she's like perfectly fine with the satanic wedding. It's one of those characters that feels like every other page of her dialogue is written by somebody else. Sometimes every other line, because she looks confused throughout the entire film. Maybe that's Tara Reid's acting. Maybe that's it. I don't know. She's been in good movies before. I can't really comment on if her acting has been good, but she's been in good movies. So it's just bizarre to watch. And this film just really, it's a headache. It's a headache inducer, this one. It just all the whole time feels like very confused on what it wants to be, and it is rough to get through. But yeah, um, I really don't. The only real thing I can give this film as like a plus is that the score is pretty good. The score by um Jamie Christopherson. Uh, I thought Jamie Christopherson did a pretty great job. And this person would go on to do the Metal Gear Rising Revengeance music, which that entire soundtrack is a banger. So at least this guy went on to do better things. But holy shit, it this music needs to be in a better movie because the music is throughout the film, and it I feel like it would fit something. And there are some scenes that are supposed to be kind of more epic, and the film can't really either can't afford to do the epic shot or refuses to do it. And yeah, this music is just in the wrong movie. Other than that, ugh, I'm just tired of talking about this now. But yeah, that was my review of The Crow Wicked Prayer. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, put them down there as well. And movie reviewer next door, out.